All right, guys. Today I got a very special guest for you. We have Alan Laws with Laws Whiskey House, and we are going to talk about everything that they're doing. They were gracious enough to send over a sample pack. We're going to dip into that a little bit. It's really interesting what they're doing. I've been doing a little research on these guys, and yeah, I feel like it's going to be a fun time. So without further ado, here's Alan. How's it going, buddy? And also, if you want to plug any social medias or anything like that we can find you at, we can also do it at the end if you want. I forgot to ask you that in the beginning.
Yeah, we're lawswhiskeyhouse.com is the email. Our site, and then we're on Instagram and on Facebook. So at Laws Whiskey House is I think how we get there. I'm not a huge social media person, so hopefully I didn't get that wrong.
No, I think you got it right. I just wanted to show the audience this beautiful, if I can get it in camera, this beautiful box that you sent over. And this has it's kind of a array of all the different things that you guys are doing over there. But the cool thing is the little small bottles are actual bottles. They're not like, little 2 ounce, sample bottles or something. These are, you had to manufacture these. And I appreciate that because it's all about the marketing and all of the things. And I don't know if you wanted me to, but I pulled out the bourbon to get started. I'm guessing we're going to go in that row. So
absolutely. That's where we always start. It's the best
Okay. I'm going to open this up and tell us a little bit about this one. This is a 4-grain straight bourbon whiskey. And you were telling me off camera, it says 2 years on here, but it's actually a lot older than that.
Yeah. So the bottles themselves, this is when you're small, you don't run, you try to get the best deals. We ran a lot of these. And in order to be straight whiskey, it has to be above 2 years. So at least 2 years. So that's what's on them, but that's not what's in them. So what's in them is quite a bit older. And just so you know that you're like, oh my God, this thing tastes like it's this. Like, yeah, no, it's because it is. So the bourbon's like over 4 years old.
Okay.
It doesn't need an age statement, and the rye is the same. The wheat, I think the wheat that's in these is like over 6 years old.
Oh wow.
And that's the same for the malt whiskey. And it's mostly because it's what you have. When you bottle something, you just, we'll fill the little ones too. So we have them for these sample packs. And these sample packs are a great way to kind of dive into the Laws flavor profile for sure. Every distillery has its sort of signature core or subtext or whatever words you want to use for it. And ours is very evident in all these, and you're gonna pull from that all the way through. But we've been doing this for 14 years. 14th anniversary is July 4th. It's the first time we made whiskey.
That's awesome.
It's been a long run. It's tough today, but it was tough when it wasn't tough. So, and we only make whiskey. So we don't make vodka or gin or anything clear. We don't sell clear spirit, moonshine of what we make. We didn't do any of that. So we went to work and we didn't sell anything for 3.5 years. So that was our first thing that ever went in glass. Was about 3.5 years old. And, it was tough to get to there. We thought, because we were naive and all this stuff, we'll get to 3 and it'll be fine and it'll be good. And then all of a sudden we don't have any money left and we're like, well, it's not ready. So you're like, let's, what are we going to do for this? Got to go find some more money. But we don't release anything until we think it's extraordinary and interesting and all those kind of things. So we started, like I said, 14 years ago. We like this business a lot. It's tough. It's really tough. But I love whiskey, and I could tell you I'm passionate about all this stuff. And that'd be a lie. The word is obsession. So I see you have a pretty big back bar there. A lot of our early stuff, we had about 700 different whiskeys in the house, and we used that with our team as our library to try to frame what our profile flavors might want to be.
Right.
And look at why do we like this whiskey? And it's pretty hard for me to find a whiskey I don't like, just like it less or more. So we had a pretty good time of taking our time to get there. No shortcuts is one of our main mantras, if you will.
Right.
But the 4 grain is our first thing. It's a flagship. And what we're trying to do here is add to the fabric that is the storied history of American whiskey. I love bourbon. I have since I was 16. And, Old Forester, Wild Turkey, Jack Daniels. I know it's Tennessee whiskey. It's bourbon.
It is. Yeah.
Like, great. And those are the things that I grew up on. And I grew up in Canada, so I'm going to freak out. Like the 21-year-old drinking laws here are draconian.
Absolutely.
So, this is what I like. And I didn't want to do anything that I didn't love and like and want to be part of. So when I got tired at my previous career, and I didn't want to die at my desk either. I'd rather die in a brick house than in a corporate desk in America. So so this is our kind of, my wife and I, kind of like our next thing, and we've been doing it for a long time. Like I said, it's been a trip for sure. We started this when no one cared about whiskey, and then all of a sudden they cared way too much about whiskey.
Correct.
And then they thought whiskey was a label, and that's it. And we don't believe that. We're grain to glass, or even dirt to glass, since we know the farmers.
Sweet.
And we know the fields that our grains are grown in. And then, at the beginning, I was like, I've read everything I could find, and here's what I want to do, and I want to create something different. And I don't need to make Kentucky whiskey or something that tastes like it, because, well, they already do it not just super well, like it's awesome.
Yeah.
The inspiration for 4-grain for me, what came from Woodford Reserve in 2005. The very first 4-grain from their master's collection thing was, I collected all this stuff. So I had all these things, and I'm like, this is what I want to make, because it's very grain forward. It came off the gooseneck still, so it was pot distilled. Pot distilled whiskeys don't get enough attention. So
no, they don't.
It's made on a column still, and it doesn't. I'm not saying column still doesn't make good whiskey. It does, right. But pot stills put a lot more flavor in them, and they're very distinctive. And I think that that's probably maybe where the consumer goes next, is trying to find the next coolest thing. But pot distilled bourbon and rye are some of the best things you could possibly have. And there's a lot of great producers of it that are medium and small, for a lot of small guys, because can't afford a column still, nor do we know how to run them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my favorite part of column stills. You're like, really? Like, how do you do this? Like,
yeah.
Pot still's a little simpler.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So we spent a bunch of time, in Kentucky, looking at how the large format folks did it, and collected all the. I love going to those places. It's just so soulful, and we wanted to make a very soulful whiskey, and we happened upon somebody in Kentucky back in 2009, 2 years before we started and opened, and that person introduced us to a retired person who ran Barton's, or Old Tom, and part of Sazerac, and he'd been 40 some years in the business, and he's my Yoda. And Bill Friel is his name. He's one of the top 9 master distillers when there was just 9 of them. He was one of those guys. You see him pictured with Jimmy Russell and all those folks, and he's still, he was part of this all the way along. And he's getting up there in age. He's not doing so well right now, but God bless. I hope he gets a little bit better. But we got to add a little bit of history by being involved with Bill. And even story I tell all the time is, like, we're in the midst of our first spirit run, and I'm all, okay, yeah, I know there's a cut, gotta make the heads cut. Yeah, gotta make the heads cuts. Then the tails cuts come, but the heads cut's really important. And he's like watching me do this stuff. And he's like, I'm like, okay, Bill, sweeten it up. Okay, where do I cut this? And he leaned back against the still, warmed his back. He said, son, it's your goddamn whiskey. Make your own cuts. And I'm like, what? And that's a story I tell a lot, and be like, what? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm shocked, because I'm like, this can't last very long. I got to figure out what I'm going to do here. So I went back to math, and I'm like, on my calculator going, hey, okay, if there's this much proof, when in this, here's what's alcohol. I assume 5% is like heads, and that's a very conservative cut. That means this, it's flowing at this. I'll make my cut here. And he watched that and just sort of laughed at the end. What the hell was that? I'm like, well, I thought this. He said, did you taste it? I'm like, yeah, I thought it was good here and here. He's like, well, this is how you do this. It isn't about the math, because the math can change every time. So it's about a person tasting it and saying this is right, and doing it a lot of times. Like even our logo is about time. It's, up and down, it's infinity. And then across is about continuous improvement. So do it 1,000 times, pay attention, and get better, right? Every day is a tryout. And you want to make the starting lineup. So that's how you start out. And you pray and hope that you're doing the right things. I felt a lot of confidence in it because I had this Yoda, who took away all the complexities. I'm like, well, here's the formula. He's like, son, this business was grown and got to this point by people with a grade 8 education. You don't need no math. and I'm like, dude, but like, there's all these things that are happening. Because I'm a chemist by training. I'm telling you, this is all you need to do. You taste it, and you get to a point where you want it to taste a certain way. He goes, that's not going to take very long. And I go, now you're there. Now you've added the soul. And that's really it. Because everyone can read the technical manuals. You can go do what I did first time. and you can do it that way, but it's going to lack something. And American whiskey is built around soul. Some of the soul comes from, like, I don't call it flaws, but like unique things that are present in everyone's, in how they make whiskey. And that's been honed in these larger companies for 100 years or more, right? And they pass it on from generation to generation. Somebody has, oh, I'm more modern, and I'll tweak it a little bit this way. But they're always paying homage to history. And we're not here to disrupt history or whatever the new modern words are for tech and all this stuff. We're not disruptors. We're adding on. We're like a colony from how it was developed. We make Colorado whiskey. It's different. It's drier. We use less corn, more flavor grains. All of them are heirloom variety flavor grains. This adds flavor. Made in a pot still, concentrating flavor. Aging here in the Front Range of the mountains. Like, that's real stuff. Like heat matters, definitely. Heat and the chemical, it's a catalyst all the time.
Right.
So yeah, we get heat, but it's not just heat for us. It's pressure changes in the atmosphere push that whiskey deep into the wood. We get a lot of the wood character early on in the whiskey. That to me does not make it better. What makes it better is the balance between the grain profile, the fruitiness that is presented from the yeast and from the grains themselves, plus the wood influence. So what do you think of the foreground?
Well, I was letting you go on your thing, so I didn't want to interrupt you because you were on a good roll, and I just wanted to make sure that you got to say what you wanted to say. I've been sipping on this while you were talking, smelling it, all the things. It is absolutely fantastic, and I'm not just blowing smoke because you're sitting right across from me. It is really great. The balance, like you're saying, the balance between the corn, the other grains. I'm guessing it's wheat and rye.
It's wheat, rye, and barley.
Yeah. So
our barley is not just for conversion.
Right. It's for flavor.
It adds flavor. It adds the nutty kind of dry finish.
And I will say it's a bourbon through and through, right? But it also showcases the grain, and I love that, especially with, like you're saying, you're not trying to be like Kentucky. You're not trying to be Wild Turkey or Jack Daniels. You're trying to be you, and this is specifically you, because I have had quite a few craft distilleries come on here and talk to me, and all of their whiskeys are very unique. And this one is very unique to your profile. And I'm really enjoying it. And the proof is 47.5. So it's not, you're not presenting it at the lowest proof you can. You're giving it some, yeah, exactly. You're giving it some oomph to it. But like, it's really balanced on the tongue, and it really just is really cohesive, but it also leaves a lingering that you want to go back for more. And that's my thoughts on a really good whiskey, where you're like, oh, I need to figure out what that next note is. I need another sip of it. And that's how I feel like that's how you're going to get people to, take the next sip, is leaving them with that wanting for a little bit more. And you guys have done it very well. So in the specific bottle. This is my first drink, I promise. In this specific bottle, you said it was a lower corn content, and if you can't disclose the mash bill, that's fine. But
no, I absolutely can. It's 60% corn, 1% wheat, 10% rye, and 10% barley.
Okay, and that's why I'm not getting a really like a rye spiciness, which I know rye presents differently, and I'm not getting that rye spiciness because it is a little more subdued, and the malt is coming in to kind of balance it out as well. So it's really cohesive and everything. Man, it's really nice, and I can't wait to move on. But I still have a little bit in here. So let's talk about, you talked about you're doing everything as local as possible, like dirt to grain type thing. Is the Colorado terroir, that was a long word to say, is the terroir in Colorado, how does it make the whiskey different than, say, the neighbor in Idaho? That's not a neighbor. Anyway, like New Mexico or something like that.
Yeah, look, everything, well, I guess my philosophy on whiskey is a value-added farm product, and it has characteristics of where it comes from. And if you try to strip that out of it, I think that's the biggest mistake or crime when you're, and especially you get big companies. Say you're in Scotland and there's all these different ones, and over the years they've homogenized production, and they think they've stripped some of the soul out of some of these distilleries to be more marketable or get more efficiencies out of things. But these are really important things. Like your terroir comes from a whole bunch of stuff. It's the grain varietal, but it's where the grain is, that varietal is grown. So the soil matters. And this is coming from an ancient seabed at 7,600 feet above sea level. So, and it's high salinity, high calcium, 4 feet to water table, all these things. I've been taught this. I'm not like an agronomist or something. Like, so is affecting that plant, and how the plant gets affected affects how it creates the kernels. And the denser the kernels, the more under stress it is, the more it leaves flavor. It has less kind of yield to it. Like, it's not as weight, doesn't weigh as much, but what's there has got a lot more flavor. We've been very into that from the very beginning. So we want to be local because we want to taste like Colorado.
Right.
And, you know, corn grows in every state, but we have farmers that grow, they grow really good dent corn, and they clean it really well for us. And it's really amazing. We used corn from out of state to start because no one would sell us anything. And it was good. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't as good as the stuff that you got that was just from last year's harvest. It wasn't in the silos for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And then the malts, anything that we use that's malted, Colorado Malting Company on the Cody family farm is I think it was the very first craft malting company in the whole country. And they know what they're doing. And so anything we want tweaked, and we just ask, and they're like, well, let's try this or let's try that. They're the experts on this. And they can make us whatever we want. But the grains that they're growing are grown for yield, or grown for flavor, not yield.
Wow. Okay.
And we're using Centennial white wheat, which is a white spring wheat that's really kind of gooey and high protein. And again, Centennial white wheat, it's Colorado wheat. Right. And scarlet barley, which, man, it ain't just for conversion. It has great conversion capacity and quality for turning starch to sugars, but it leaves that nutty note. The nutty note's there. So in our 4 grain, we want you to have 4 steps. We want to be able to taste all 4 American mother grains in every step. So the first sip, you get, well, there's the sweetness. It's not nearly as sweet as a lot of Kentucky bourbon.
Right. Absolutely.
Not meant to be that way. And then that a little bit of a bite, pentametallic kind of thing, that's the rye. And at the beginning, the rye would take over this whole mash bill. So we cook it with the corn and we take it up in temp. So it doesn't. So what we were doing before from the beginning, it's like an inverted stepped infusion, like you would do in brewing. Right. So the grains are added at the point where they present the most flavor, right? So we did that, and then, oh, this is a 4 grain that basically tastes like a rye bourbon, even at 10%. So like, that's not what we're shooting for. So then we made some adjustments. We cook it with the corn, denatured a bit, and then so you get that quick bite of that, and we'll be able to try that. And the third one here, you'll understand that this is why we put this 4-pack together, because we're going to dissect it or deconstruct it here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then, the wheat really presents as baking spice, doughy, weedy kind of no toast, but with cinnamon and cardamom and all these kind of spices. Orange presents very highly. The next one we're going to try is I think we should do the wheat whiskey, the 100% wheat whiskey next.
Okay.
And then it finishes with this walnut, hazelnut kind of nut note that comes from the scarlet barley. And all these whiskeys are made sour mash style. Everything's on grain. So fermented on grain, or cooked, fermented, and then first pass distillation, all on grain. So you're going to get as much of those grains as you can possibly imagine.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And there is something to say for a pot distilled bourbon or whiskey in general compared to column still. It's there's something about the viscosity. I'm using big words again. The viscosity, the oiliness of it, and the esters that are able to come over that aren't getting just stripped out, which is really cool, but also really like you can nerd out just on it. We could talk just about the bourbon all night. Absolutely. But that's the cool thing about what you guys are doing. And I'm seeing this as we're talking. You're not afraid to like say, oh, we're going to sacrifice some of that rye because we don't want it to be rye heavy. We have a rye whiskey. We don't want it to be rye heavy.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to dial it back. We're still going to have it in there, but we're going to use it in such a way where it's more flavoring than it is actually bombarding the thing. So that's really cool because it's kind of like learning on the fly. It's one of those things where you're like, hey, that didn't work. And I'm sure it took a while for you to understand that because you probably had to put it in barrel, or it might have come over off the new make. I don't know. But, if you had to put it in barrel and let it sit for a while, and there's no mistakes, right? It's all a learning experience. Obviously that costs you money, but it's a learning experience that you keep thriving and keep moving forward. And, just say, okay, we need to tweak this just a little bit on the next run. It'll be fine. It'll blend out or whatever, it's not a big deal. And then also another thing and we can get into this later is, with bourbon having the legality of being in new oak, finding good new oak barrels.
So we don't use any mini barrels. We use everything's 52.8. What we use, they're all independent stave, American white oak from Lebanon, Missouri. So that's where they all come from. And we use a char 3. We've dabbled in, we call them wave stave, which is like deep toast light char. We've done that. It did not produce what we were looking for. And what we were looking for, frankly, is we were looking for this little coconut note that it was supposed to present. And so whether it's our clear liquid or our environment or aging, I don't know why it didn't show up, but it has not shown up. We stopped using them a few years ago. But we also use only 12 and 18 months dry aged stave barrels anymore. We used a mix of, their standard bourbon barrel, and then their Cooper Select is that barrel, which is all we use now. And the idea around that was, well, there's no difference. Well, there was no difference. As you just pointed out, all this is an experiment. We put them on the same rack, standard bourbon or Cooper Select. Okay. Year 1, year 2, same. Third, same. 3.5 years. Oh, not the same anymore. 4 years, definitely better in the Cooper Select. So anything above that, we just like, okay, well, why would we use these? Because our age profile is to go above that. We're just it's making it regressed. And my opinion that the wave staves regressed this by anything that was on par on flavor at X, they were 6 months behind that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the deep toast did something. And sometimes those barrels, when people are picking single barrels, they love them because they'll like these kind of tropical fruit notes can come out of those, especially when they're in rye is in them, like pineapple. And so people sometimes really this is like so interesting. So there's definitely something to them. They're well-made barrels for sure. they just didn't do what we were looking for.
Well, and
it's like you were saying, though, it does take a lot of iterations. And we didn't know about the rye thing until 2 years. When we were like looking at it. We're like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Did you say you wanted me to move over to the wheat next?
Yeah, let's move
to
the wheat.
Okay, cool. I have it poured up, and this one is called the Centennial Straight Wheat Whiskey.
Yes. So it's 100% wheat grain.
Okay.
Half of it's malted and half of it's raw.
Love that.
And we used to put out, kind of the same, we have our kind of flagship version of this, a cast strength, and then a bonded. And then we're like, we don't need 20 SKUs.
No.
And we only put this out once a year, and it just went into glass this week for this year's version.
Oh,
so
wow.
We stuck with bonded. So our bonded wheat whiskey is the only thing you'll really find out there. And it has moved, like all of our bonded products, from 4 years when we're really young to 6 to 8, and then we've kind of settled in on 7 for everything.
Okay.
The stuff that's in this year's, I think it's 90% 8-year-old, and maybe a couple barrels that are 7 years, 11 months. But so we keep the 7-year age, and we don't really care about that. It's old enough, we'll put it that way. But it has really distinctive flavor. So from the bourbon, remember that kind of doughy and that orange, and oh my God, it's cardamom, cinnamon.
Mm-hmm. All day.
So at the early days of this, because we didn't know, there aren't really any of these on the market.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have a lot to compare to. We had some out of California, but they were made with LME. So it wasn't from real grain. It was made from an extract. And
right.
It was interesting. And then so we're like, oh, what is this? And I'll tell you, early years, this is hot as hell. Like, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's certainly a whiskey, Al. I'm like, yeah, it is. So up to 3 years, it was like our team was like, are we really doing this? I'm like, yeah, man, this is going to be good. Wheat takes longer to develop than rye does.
Okay.
Rye is good at like 2 years. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Wheat. So just like wheated bourbons need to be a little bit longer aged.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is like the whole thing. So we got to be a little more patient. And it went from, hey, a wheat whiskey that's, it's hot, but it's, there's a flavor there, to, hey, this is a great whiskey that happens to be made from wheat. And that happened around, at 4, I was comfortable. The team was like, oh, it's still hot. It's like, I'm like, yeah, hold on. Then 6, it became something, and 7 and 8 here they're delicious. They have like a sarsaparilla back note.
Yes.
Can be bubblegummy to some degree. I think that's probably the same.
Wow.
But you get all these things, right, that are distinctly wheat. Mm-hmm. And then as it gets up here in age, and we have enough of it because we only put out 12 barrels of it a year. Like,
oh, okay.
Because we're not very big, and we don't send it around the country a lot. We put it into the portal of the portal. So I was looking at the football stuff all day.
Oh gosh.
It's it's on our online thing, so it can be picked up there. But we're not in a whole bunch of states, so it's out there in some degrees. We find the 4-year-olds sometimes, and I'm like, wow, this is still really good. But it's way better now, and it keeps getting better. And we have enough stock where we could go on 10, 12 years if we wanted.
Oh wow.
I think there's an issue though, from where we age stuff. So it's pretty tough. Even our bourbon that's 10, 12 years old, we typically use most of it into our flagship batch. So, it's 4, 5, and 6, and then we put some 10 or 12 in it to give it a top note from our flagship, the first one you tried.
Right.
There's a lot of wood. We got a lot of wood from that barrel early on because of barometric, the pumps are hard. And so when it gets to 10 or 12, I'm looking for the fruity, grainy balance. It comes out of balance and goes very woody. I think wheat is going to do the same, but it might be able to hang on longer than the bourbon.
Yeah. To me, the wheat it's the next step. It doesn't have as much of the I hate to say corn sweetness because there wasn't a whole lot of corn sweetness on the 4-grain, but it doesn't, but like that, the wheat component in the 4-grain, it like takes that and just envelops it obviously and turns it over. And with with a lot of times with wheated bourbons, I get, it's almost too hot to me because I guess they haven't aged them long enough or whatever, but this one isn't hot. It has spice to it, which is kind of weird because you would think that would be rye would bring the spice component, but no, it's almost like not, like a little bit of cinnamon or something like that. It's not like the rye spice where it's like, star anise and whatever. This is, it's really, I'm going to say it, it's really smooth. It's really smooth going down, and also sitting on the palate, it gives a lot of the barrel character comes through on it. So you get a lot of the vanillins, the cherry cordials and stuff like that. Like it has almost a little chocolatey note as well, which reminds me, which reminds me of, I don't know if you ever, whenever you go to the movies, you get those Whoppers. They're like malt balls with the chocolate coating.
Sure.
It kind of reminds me of that, which that's what I love in a good wheated or wheat whiskey. And there's not many 100% wheat whiskeys out there, like you were saying. No. I know that Cedar Ridge has done a couple of them.
I bet those would be high quality. They make fantastic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the issue with theirs, they presented it at like 62% alcohol. So you're like, it's hot, it's hot and fiery. It's good, but it's hot. You need to add a little water to it. And that's the thing. And we could talk about that for a second. You put these at a proof point to where I'm guessing if somebody was so inclined, they could add a drop of water or two to it and just kind of take the ride from there, because obviously you can present it at 40% and it's still considered whiskey and it would probably still sell on the shelves and it would probably still have a lot of flavor. You chose this, and obviously you have a bonded, which is 100, and then your cask strength, which is whatever it happens to come out of the barrel at, depending upon your barrel entry proof. And we could talk about that on the next sample. But like the fact that you presented at this proof so that you can add water to it, or it might hold up to a ice ball or something like that, which I really enjoy, because when you present it at 43 or 40%, there's not really much room to go, because after that it gets way too watery and you lose a lot of flavor. Was that on purpose, or is this just a good spot where you found it?
100% on purpose. We did put it out at cask strength at the beginning, and we have some super fans who still bitch at me about like, I want to cask. I go buy a whole barrel of it, and they did. So I'm like, God bless. Like, I don't want to drink it at that. I am a 110 proof kind of person. I definitely don't want to drink it below. I don't want anything in my glass that goes in below 90. And that's not like, our whiskeys generally stand up to ice or to water. And I put water in really every glass I pour. I just go up to the fridge and I just want to, I know what it tastes like with that, but I like how it opens.
Right.
You're a whiskey geek. I can tell by how you just described that. So you're talking to another one. So we want to make sure that you get to choose where you drink it. If I take that away from you and put it in the bottle at 85, that's not cool.
No.
So I'm giving you the chance. If you don't like it at that proof, God bless. Put ice in it. This particular whiskey, which comes up again this time of year, I call our summer whiskey. And because
I can see that
orange notes, if you put ice in this, and they're all non-chill filtered, so you'll strip some flavors at the beginning.
Right.
But that chilling of it will take some of the sharper sweet notes and like round them, and then it becomes like a creamsicle. And so that's what ice does to it. And I said, I think it's great in the heat. I like this one. And again, this is the one that most of our team was like, this stuff's fire. But as it's got to this age, it's no longer fire. And you could tame that fire with the ice. So,
right.
And again, it's the summer. So I like, if I'm drinking whiskey outside in summer, I want it to bring on a little sweat. I want to have a little drip coming down or something like that. That's what the whole part of the enjoyment is. But absolutely. It's 100% wheat whiskey. Is not a lot out there like this. It's well aged. It's at a good proof. And this is again one of my favorites. It's become more of my favorite than rye. And rye was a big deal to me.
Right.
I'm originally from Canada, like I said. So rye is a thing. And now I'm like, well, it kind of goes bourbon, wheat whiskey, rye for me. So it kind of lost its position, not because I just have, I don't know, maybe I'm getting older and I always like bourbon more. Like I'm 6-7 times more likely to pour bourbon than I am any of the other ones. And I love them. And like when we do things like this, we don't put out the malt whiskey very often. We have another round coming this year. We haven't put it out for 2.5 years or so.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I never get to drink it. And I'm like, oh yeah, the malt, yeah, it's good. But like when I have it, I'm really kind of excited to try it here. It's because I don't really get to try it very often. And I'm like, holy shit, this is really good. I'm not gonna be, I'll be honest, if we make these whiskeys, they're all amazing, but I'm a bourbon person. Like I'm a bourbon guy. That is what I'm gonna. I can't like lie and go, oh,
yeah, oh, absolutely.
I really like this new. No, I like bourbon. That's why this Law's Whiskey House exists. The rest is just a deconstruction of the bourbon that we make,
right?
Trying to present the flavors in that way. But in doing this, we've stumbled upon a lot of things that, they're kind of new. And I just saw that Maker's Mark put out like an almost 100% wheat whiskey, and they don't call it that. And I'm like, this is hilarious. Like, so when I know some people there, I'm like, what is this? Oh, well, it's just for our biogenetic farming. Like,
oh gosh, here we go.
But it's awesome. Like, it's really good.
No.
Like, I said, hey, are you guys going to spend like $20 million creating a category here? I'd love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I will fit right in there.
Yeah, I would love this. Like, I don't have to be the only one here.
Right. Exactly.
I would love some big bucks behind having more people try it and think that they want to try it. But we have a lot of success with this at like tastings, any liquor store tastings we do, or at our new Whiskey Sanctuary tasting room. When you put it in someone's glass, like, what the? I'm like, yeah, you better buy some of that, buddy. That's
awesome. And I will tell you, it is just enough. I will say this. Obviously, being 100% wheat, it's going to be different than the bourbon, but it's just enough, has just enough bourbon notes to where a bourbon lover is going to fall right into it as well. But it's just different enough for a whiskey nerd like me to where it's like, this is a totally different thing. It's very good. And it has that similarity, that line going from one to the other, to where you're like, hey, I could side by side this with the bourbon and pick out that wheat every time out of the bourbon. Yes. Now that I'm drinking the wheat, and I'm hoping that when we move to the rye, it's going to be more of the same, to where you're going to be able to pick that rye out and go from there. So that leads me. You said something about the sanctuary, and I was looking on your website a couple days ago, and tell us a little bit about that, because I don't often get to talk about people's, where they can go to enjoy your whiskey. And this is a tasting room that you guys have. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we, for the longest time, we're very focused on being a wholesale producer, a brand that is a wholesale producer. We did not want to be a tasting room with a distillery attached. Right. We're the antithesis of that, actually. We're a wholesale production facility with, at the time, we had this little kind of bottle shop thing, and that was attached to us, and that was where you could come. You couldn't do much, though. We didn't have a license to even put ice in your glass.
Oh gosh!
So you had to like have straight little pours. You could buy something there. You could go on a tour. Our tours we wouldn't take a knee to anybody. They're the best, and people love those. Come out and do that kind of thing. We always were looking to add this hospitality, I guess, brand experience for Laws, and to make sure it met the standards that we hold ourselves to. And so we're like, we have this lot next door. We're going to just build a tasting room. That problem is we happen to live in the city of Denver, which is, I don't know how many dystopian movies you watch. It's pretty close to that when it comes to trying to build anything. So it took us five. Okay, five. It was 5 years to get a permit.
Oh my God.
And we were struggling to do that in front of COVID. Then COVID hit. And then it kind of went haywire. And then we eventually got a permit literally during COVID.
Maybe they were just like, screw it. We don't have enough staff to mess with this, you know?
But like what we built is really not any different than the first thing that we put in. You know this, like it's insane. Change order this, change order that. Then we changed your mind. Let's go back to that. Like it was insane. So we finally got to build it, and then we got to build it during COVID, which supply chain, inflation, all these subcontractors going out of business because they bid projects. This is the saddest part. Like I bid this project. Okay, it's time to go in. Oh, I can't get the materials. They're not in the city. Like, oh, well, why not? Oh, because this is broken. And so they have to go to business because they bid these things at prices and they can't get anything. We witnessed all this stuff. It's like insane. But we finally got this thing built. Last June, it was pretty much ready. And then the fire department had a whole other idea. Their idea of this. So it took us another 6 months to meet what they wanted us to do, which they could have told us a year before. But
absolutely,
wait to the end. But we got it built. So that's my wine and my ditch and like whatever. It doesn't matter. We're looking forward, not in the rearview mirror.
Absolutely.
We built this thing. It's very cool. It's a brutalist style architectural design. It's one of the coolest buildings in the city. It probably will win a whole bunch of architectural awards. And it's attached to our distillery. It's 2 stories high. It's not very big, so it's got some intimacy to it. But it's a cool place to come to, feel our brands now. We have a whiskey church with a 2-story Gothic window where you go in and learn about the company and how we make whiskey. And then we run you through a tour where if you've gone on distillery tours, they're going to be fairly similar. But that experience of whiskey church, you're not going to get that very anywhere. And then you come in and we come back and you go into this kind of dark room that is kind of removing all the sensory so that you can just focus on the whiskey. This is one of my favorite rooms and things. You stand there, 12 people or so in the tour, and then we go through a guided thing, just like we're doing right now. Or if you have a smaller group, or it's like, call what's on the wall. Like that's what we have. What do you want to put in your 3, your 3 taste and profile? And we'll tell you all about them. And then when you're finished with that, and you're like, oh my God, want to try something else? Try this. You want to buy this? Buy this. Or you can go upstairs and let our mixologist folks take you on something we've never been able to take you on, which is a journey of taking those whiskeys and doing something else with them, putting them into a cocktail, presenting them in a different way, which is awesome if you don't have diabetes. If you're like me, I don't do well with the cocktails. There's too much, like the sugar and all that just jacks me up. So I still want it great, but there is a lot of artistry in that. And we spend so much time in artistry. We spent so much time to create artistry in our whiskeys. To see them taken to another level after so many years is, I don't want to cry up there, but I just like, this is so cool. And it just opens it up to more folks that don't want to drink straight whiskey. And they do a great job up there. The atmosphere up there has 3 kind of levels. There's kind of like high top table kind of thing. And then there's sitting around the bar. And then there's some low seating that is very loungy and surrounded by tectum. So the sound comes down and you have to see it to appreciate it.
And I will try at the very end of this, I will try to put up some pictures of it or something like that so that the people can see it. Because looking online, I was like, whoa, that's pretty awesome. And that's what's so cool about what you guys are doing. You're creating great whiskey, and then you're like, hey, here's a cool place where you can go hang out and drink said great whiskey. And then here's a cocktail that's going to blow that whiskey into 50 million pieces, but yet you'll be able to pick it out. And it's unlike any other cocktail you've ever had, because mixologists I've done an episode on it, but I need to do another episode on mixology, because literally it's 3 basic steps, but it can change everything about a whiskey. And that's just with whiskey. That's not considering a rye whiskey, or that's not considering the wheat whiskey, or some other thing like a vodka, a gin, or whatever. Like it's literally, it explodes with flavor. And then of course there's always the sweetness aspect, but yes, I mean, that's the thing. Cause I'm an old fashioned guy, right? I just make an old fashioned just because it's easy. You know, it has a little bit of sweetness, you know, Friday afternoon, make me an old fashioned. That's kind of my thing. But I do love other cocktails as well. And so, yeah, that to me is super cool. And there's nothing like going in a place where they're just like, you know what to make, just make it, you know, like to where you don't even really have to ask, or you can just go as nerdy as you want on it, because there's some people that have no idea what they're looking for. And the mixologist is going to be like, I got you. It's fine. Just sit there. I'm going to blow your mind. And then you can geek out as well as if you want. One of the other things that I saw, and we're going to move on to the rye whiskey, but one of the other things that I saw, I was actually able to pick up a single barrel pick for a group that I'm a part of called the Barrel Outlaws. And Brad over there, he went and picked a barrel. Well, him and a couple other people went over there and picked a barrel. And the cool thing, I should have brought it. I'm sorry, I didn't bring it with me in the shed, but it literally has everything on the front of that label. I like everything from barrel entry proof, what size barrel, what the mash bill, everything. And so like, if you want a specific, I think the one that I had was like Sauterne finished, or anyway, it doesn't matter. Like the list was, you know, it was falling off the edge of the page. It needed like a little rolling scroll or something on it. But that to me, for the whiskey nerd in me, I love that. I love the fact that it went in at this proof, came out at this proof, no water was added, blah, blah, blah. Or if water was added, it, you know, there was this much. And then it just like, there was temperatures and barrel warehouse placement. I mean, why do that? Because you don't have to do that on the label.
Well, because it may not be valuable information to a lot of folks, but it might be interesting to some folks.
Yes.
And for us, that we now put that on the back label and kind of narrowed it down, because we got a lot of complaints like, oh, you can't tell what it is because it's all this stuff you put on it. I'm like, yeah, well, it's more for you and you pick up, not that far. But so we modified that slightly, but we kept it because, you know, and I'm not going to say I invented this. Like, I used to love Buffalo Trace's experimentals.
Yes.
We call it experiential is what we call it. But like those things, they made a difference to me because I could buy the rough hewn inside before char to the smooth, and like here they are the same age, same rick house. And it's so cool when you're geeky about this stuff to just have that experience. It's an experience. And
it really is.
We're trying to replicate that in a much smaller way with less resources. But we were like, hey, let's just be, well, it's real, it's authentic, and it just becomes about like, well, this is what it is. So, you know, we don't put anything else in these whiskeys. We even have this from our poor people today. Well, why don't we say more of that? Like, this only has this, this, and this in it. I'm like, well, because it's bourbon whiskey, straight bourbon, it shouldn't have anything else in it. Like, well, but that's not true. And when you get into tequila and all this stuff around, you know, on modifiers and things like that, you're like, well, if people aren't into that, I'm like, everything, we should continue to put this stuff on. Like, this is the only thing that went into this. That's it. And that's what we've always been about. We're not here to, you know, pull the, you know, we're not trying to like, oh, well, over here, this, and then but we're only doing this over here. We're not doing that. And we're making everything that goes into the bottle. We didn't force anything. We know where it came from. We know the people that grew the grape. They are family, essentially. And those things are important to us. And I also get criticized. Like, this is too geeky, and people don't really understand what that means. It doesn't need to mean anything to you. It means something to me. And it means at the end is that you don't have to, you know, ascribe or subscribe to that as important. You just have to like the whiskey. Absolutely. We're going through all this to hopefully present something to you that you like. And if you don't, that's okay too. That's okay. There's because things out there. And we just want to add to this. We don't want to, we're not cookie cutter. We don't want to just be, I don't want to be Weller. Weller exists. I don't need to be Weller. I don't want to be anything like that. So.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like for somebody like me that wants to know all those things, I don't have to know them. It's just cool when they're on the label. I like to look at all that stuff. And it makes me think like that person cares enough to put all that on there. So like, it makes a difference when you're like, okay, because you can kind of see how the whiskey developed and how it turned into what it is. Because like even in the one I was talking about, it said it was in the finishing barrel for this long, which a lot of people, they don't tell you how long it was in the finishing barrel for. So you're like, did you dump some sherry in it, or was it actually in a sherry barrel for 2 years?
Absolutely happen, yeah. It goes into a finished barrel. It's no longer straight bourbon whiskey, right? This is all TTB
correct.
stuff. So it becomes that could be in your name, but so it allows for a lot more latitude. Like it's like, oh, you can add 2% or what. We don't do any of that. It is what it is. We made my wife some rum, which is sold at the tasting room, and made a cocktail, and promised her we would do that from the very beginning. And it's 8-year-old rum. There's nothing in it. There's no back sweetening. There's nothing. And it's aged in different types of barrels and this kind of stuff. But literally, this is what it is. And it's a whiskey person's rum. And it's awesome. And she likes it too. And we make a few of those things, very small volumes of that. But it keeps all of our people kind of jazzed because we can do special projects where, let's try this. And we did. So those are pretty fanciful. But at the same time, just as you said earlier, iterations and trying things and learning from them. You always got to be intellectually curious. And you always have to have your eyes wide open.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I just poured some of the rye whiskey, and this one to me is interesting because I've talked to quite a few people about rye whiskey, and they say that it is a pain in the butt to work with. So what is your thoughts on that? And have you moved away from running the still and now you're in there doing spreadsheets?
Or I don't get to do any of the fun stuff anymore. You want to think this is, no, there's no more fun for me in this. No, I have to deal with all the 5% or whatever things that are going wrong. Today, probably like 10 to 15%. But I used to go, and every holiday I would work all the stills like I did it from the beginning. So Christmas Day, New Year's Day, 2 days in Thanksgiving, I would go run them. And those were like some of my favorite days of the year.
Oh, I bet.
But we don't have the capital to run at 20. Well, we weren't 24/7. We were like 20. We're probably, we were like 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. So we ran hard for a long time. And then, we can't now. We can't afford that yet. But we'll go back to that. We'll be back to it. We got capacity built in. Someday we'll get back to it.
Well, let's tell me a little bit about this rye whiskey, and then we'll get into, because we had talked about that at the opening about it's hard times right now for distillers, and I'm not gonna say just for distillers. I think it's hard times for everybody. Actually, I'm not trying to get political or anything like that, because I don't do that on this show. But at the same time, it's we can see things are happening. The jobs aren't coming in like they're supposed to. The grains are getting shipped late or whatever. So tell me a little bit about this, and then we'll talk about some of the trials, and then we'll end it on a good note, because we have to. We can't leave this like that. And we're getting into, and I know this is probably going to make you upset. We're going to get into my favorite category of malt. So,
this is going to be fun then. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
It would be my least favorite until I try it, and then I'm like, oh, this is good.
But I love this.
Yeah. So the rye whiskey is, again, 100% rye whiskey, and it's a 50-50 split. We made it 95-5, or actually more, 95, 47-5, 47-5 at the beginning. And our farms got better at making the rye malt, or I don't know, and I'm not into, I don't know how to do that. So, but at the beginning, it didn't have enough diacetic power to convert the raw side, and rye is notorious for being less like a power grain for malt. So I think it's like 5x for barley, maybe 3x if you did good wheat, probably maybe closer to 4x its weight in conversion capacity. They're easy peasy. They do it. Rye, not so much. So at the very beginning, it was 95-5, but I don't think, other than the 10-year stuff that we have, none of it's that anymore. It's all 100%, 50-50. Made some with, go 60. We made all those kind of things are in the mix,
Yeah.
but it's mostly 50-50. And the idea is to get those kind of earthy notes of rye from the raw, and then get this kind of brighter homogenized flavors from the malted. But this tastes like Colorado. There's no other ryes out there that are like this. We've won unbelievable amounts of awards, including, I think we won World Whiskey Awards for rye twice. I'd have to ask PR and
Congrats on that.
So we've done really well in rye, and like we have so many folks that it's their favorite of what we make. Rye had a great growth spurt, and then every person that owns a still put rye out. And it's not criticism of Kentucky. Kentucky knows corn. They're not particularly good with rye, and their rye generally has corn in it. So it's fine, but they're not what we're trying to make here. And you get better representatives of what we're trying to make out of like Minnesota, upstate New York, those kind of things are where you get real terroir in this stuff, and also you're getting distinctive flavor. This is SLV rye. It's only grown in the San Luis Valley in Colorado for 100 years. So it's a varietal that they use there for basically for ground cover in the winter, till in so you don't lose all your soil, and then also nitrogen impacts and all this kind of stuff. So, and then people started to want this, and it's rye kind of grows like a weed, but you want to have a fairly cold climate. You want distinctive climates for rye. Like that's why most of it's grown in the north, Canada, Minnesota, like Michigan, like those are all places that grow good rye.
Right.
New York. And so for us, it was like varietal was important. And then to, again, make it as close to 100% as we could at the beginning. Now we're at 100% so that we can take you through this, deconstruction of like, here it is. Now, when you taste the bourbon, like, oh, there it is. It comes through as a slight kind of whiff on the second flavor note. And because it was taken over before, and we have this, we're like, hey, that's good enough. We want the essence of rye in the bourbon, and then we want the essence of wheat, or it's probably more weedy than anything else. And then we want the barley. But on the rye itself, the farmers love this. The Cody family, they love the rye, and they describe it as, you've never been on a harvester in August when we're cutting the rye. This tastes like the air in the field. This has the flavors of like what we're doing. They're very proud of this, and they should be. And we love that connection to the soil and to everything else in this. But it has all the rye elements, right? It has peppery notes. But those peppery notes aren't cracked pepper or super spicy. They're more like serrano. They're more vegetative.
Yes.
So the peppery notes radiate. They don't hit your tongue and they sort of there. And then every breath you take, or after your second glass, every heartbeat, it's kind of there. It radiates in those things. You get the anise. You definitely get the saltiness. When this comes off the still, clear spirit, before it goes in the barrel, it tastes a lot like mezcal. So it has like salinity. It has minerality to it. And you're like, this is interesting. It has that jackfruit kind of note to it.
Yes.
And all those things are present. And then the perfume, the nose there's none. Whiskeys have this kind of nose.
No. It is definitely different than all of them. But like I went back to the bourbon because I poured a little bit more of the bourbon just so I could smell it. And I get it in the bourbon, which is such, like, again, you're going on this. It is such a cool thing because like on the glass, my wife recently made, she makes sourdough. She has been for a long time, one of those things. And she made a rye sourdough. Okay. So she got her sourdough mix and made a rye flour, blah, blah, blah. And then this to me on the finish, like halfway through the very beginning, because it has some sweetness and a little bit of rye spice to it. But halfway through it, it gets that bready note. And then it's like rye bread with butter on it. And I mean, it takes me back to that memory of me sitting in the kitchen eating that whole loaf, just going to town on it with some warm butter, just slathering it on there. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds you of the combine. I get it, getting all the.
Well, not me. I'm not on the combine. They wouldn't let me drive it. They're like, no chance.
Yeah, no chance. You're going to be doing donuts out there.
But but I can get that dusty air thing. It has dusty kind of notes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like salty, peppery, saltwater taffy even, and then anise.
Yes,
and then with absolutely. It's like, this is rye. This is what rye should be. And I like that it's different. And if I went to Minnesota and I tried those, they have that same element in different ways from the varietal plus how it's grown there. And that's what rye is. Everyone knows what bourbon's supposed to taste like, or that's the thing that drives me crazy. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but there's variations of this. But nobody knows what rye is supposed to taste like. Maybe in Canada, but that rye is not good because it's not. I don't like Canadian rye. I grew up around it. Like the best Canadian rye is made in Alberta distilleries in Calgary, and that stuff's good. But the rest is like, oh well, we mixed it with this and we did this, and I don't know what the standards are, so I'm not a big as a ex-Canadian. I'm like, I'm not drinking that. But this is real American, like straight rye whiskey.
And what's so funny is like, I get that terroir because I had Herman from Dad's Hat rye whiskey over in Pennsylvania.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And obviously his rye whiskey is very different than this. But also it has some of the same notes and some of the same flavors to it because of the rye. Obviously it's very rye centric, but like, it's just so cool to me. And on this side of it, and tell me if you've had that before as well, to where like you can actually pinpoint in different areas. Cause I've had a couple of Colorado guys on the show. I've had Deer Hammer on. What's the other one? Oh man, I'm losing it. I wish. No, I don't remember who it was. Anyway, but you can kind of taste that generality of it. And I'm from Texas, right? So Texas boys, we have a distinct flavor of our whiskeys.
Yeah,
we're working on it, guys. It's hot down here, so we're trying to get. I actually have an ice pack underneath my computer as I'm recording this because it's like 90 degrees outside right now. And my buddy was just in Colorado this last weekend, and he said they got like 8 inches of snow. So we are not the same.
The next day. It was gone the next day.
we are not the same, but at the same time, it's just so cool to see that And I know people say terroir doesn't make a difference and just shut up and make the whiskey and stuff like that. But to me personally, and I don't care who likes that, and hopefully somebody who's listening or watching will understand, like, it does make a difference. It does. Because I've had whiskey from California. I've had whiskey from New York. I've had whiskey from Canada. All over the place. I mean, I've had a lot of other ones too. Tasmanian whiskey, that was kind of strange. That Floki, which is like the Swedish one that was smoked with sheep's dung. I've had that. Anyway, so like you can taste the area that it's in. And now that we're, into the rye presents very rye grainy as well, which I love. I love because I hate when, and this is the craft nerd in me, I hate it when a whiskey tastes so much like the barrel that you can't get any of the flavors of the actual rye whiskey. And that has to do with the pot distillation and stuff like that. But I love the fact that it has that rye grain where it's almost like you can taste the grain kernels in your mouth, like it's like that. And some people don't like it because they want that cohesive, just, cherry vanilla soda taste, which I like. Don't get me wrong. I like it. But this to me is so unique and different, but also really fantastic. And I bet this one stands up to a cocktail so well.
Oh man, it's the best. Manhattan, black Manhattan with rye.
God.
Yeah, and we make our own. We have two versions. The second version is not out yet, but we make our own Amaro. We make it out of this brandy base we made 6 years ago, and it kills. And then Sam, our head distiller, is making a black, like a dark Amaro for the black Manhattan. So we don't have to make our modifiers anymore. The law got changed, but we're still making them because our folks do a good job of it. So we're like, we'd rather present that to you as another unique experience in the cocktail bar.
Yep.
And just,
absolutely.
Straight pours, which our straight pours rock, but
yeah.
at times not everyone's into that. Plus I'm shocked. We talked about the wheat whiskey Ethan came up with this thing called they call it something different all the time, but it was called the creamsicle last summer. Cause I like the wheat whiskey. I like it in the summer. So they used wheat whiskey in it. Wanted wheat whiskey. I don't even know, Lillet maybe, and then some lime, and it tastes like a creamsicle. And I'm like, this rocks. Now my blood sugar spikes, but I can, shoot some insulin or something. And but that's the only real cocktail that I'll have there. The old fashioned kills, kills. But it's too much for me. So
No, I get that. And that's another thing when you're partaking, and I've talked about this ad nauseum. You got to know where you're at with it. Like if you can't do sugar, you can't do cocktails, cool. Do an ice ball, do something like that, to where you can find the different flavors that are in that whiskey coming through. A lot of people that I do whiskey tastings for people, they like to add a little Topo Chico or mineral water to. Okay, so I don't like Topo Chico personally because it's it just tastes like carbonated, which it is, carbonated water, right?
Over-carbonated water.
Over-carbonated. So it's like when you go to Sonic and they give you a drink and it's like nothing but the carbonation. You're like, oh God, that's so gross. But they tried it and they said, here, try it. And I want to think it was like Jameson. It was something very baseline, right? Nothing that's going to be overpowering even with just basic water. And it almost tasted, obviously it was quote unquote a cocktail, but it almost tasted like a cocktail with just a dash of Topo Chico in it. And I was like, that's really strange that it would do that, because a lot of people drink Jameson highballs and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just
a thing too, right?
Yes.
Someone told me Japan is all about. I've never been to Japan, so and then highball to me is like Jack and Coke, rye and ginger, the stuff that I grew up on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's, is that really? But no, that's not a real one. You put soda water in it. I definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah. No, and what they do is they put they put a shot or two of whiskey, of whatever whiskey, and then they'll put soda water, and then we'll put like a squeeze of lime or something on top. It's refreshing during the summer, I guess, whatever. But I'm sure you could pound quite a few of those and be laying on the dirt very soon after that, because I mean,
noon to me.
Yeah, it does. It kind of reminds me of some of those. So let's talk about some of the trials that you guys have had. Especially. Go ahead.
It's tough to make. It really is. The yields are lower, and that's most likely why Kentucky's not a big fan, because you had the corn to get the yield up, but it foams. Everyone will tell you that, and I mean it foams a little. No, we set the fermenter 18 inches below the top. Everything's open air fermented, all sour mash, but it's so gooey. So when the yeast start to eat, they give off alcohol, esters, heat, and CO2. And that CO2 starts going up through the goo, and the goo can't release it fast enough. So it doesn't just edge its way up, millimeter and over. No, it goes millimeter, 5 millimeters, 10 millimeters. Oh, you're cleaning a fermenter, and behind you, it's all coming out of the fermenter after 9 hours or something being in there. And then you spend 6 hours cleaning that guck up, and it gets in every crevice, and it sucks. And I haven't had that happen to me in so long, but if I had our head distiller on here, he would get viciously angry about it. So when you could do stuff, you're like, oh, we just have to break the surface tension. And my Yoda would say, just a couple little drops of olive oil will change that. I'm like, yeah, maybe. It didn't work. And because it's such an explosive increase in CO2, because the rye ferment, where bourbon's kind of like half sugar on a declining basis every day. Rye, Nah, it's gonna eat like over half of it in the first 20 hours. And it explodes and you can't hold it in.
Right.
So we worked for so many years on this and we found our magic solution, and then it still doesn't always work. And it's usually, hey, you've just made 50 batches of rye and you're on your last like 3. And every one of them's going to explode out of the fermenter. And you're like, what the? We've just done a month. Like, why? I'm like, okay. But so we use like in process, as we heat up raw rye, we're going to use beta glucanase, which is an enzyme that breaks some of the gooiness. It doesn't increase your yield or anything for us,
right,
but it definitely makes it more manageable. And so it breaks down the gooey nature of it and doesn't really affect it. And then the malts go in. It seems, again, this is years of messing with it.
right.
And it is, that's why people hate it. It's not just, oh, it came out and we lost 20, 30 gallons. No, it's trying to clean it up if it dries. And it takes you so long to get it cleaned up. And it's so annoying. And the grains are dirty from the beginning. It's just a dirty grain.
Yeah.
But it's a labor of love. So we always say it's the most passionate whiskey too. It's like, it has all those elements, right? It's lit. My wife hates this. She can't hear me from me. It's like licking the neck of your perfume lover, right? Drinking the rye. It's sweaty. It's invigorating. You're dancing. You're hot. You're like, it's salty. All these things, perfumey, and you're like, this is so good.
Yep.
And so it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. And I said, like, it's moved down my ranking here because, well, it is the spring and I haven't had the wheat whiskey a lot, but I have one open. It hasn't, not a lot left in that, right? So it's the time of year for wheat whiskey for me. That's what I'm telling all the peeps at the sanctuary too.
I understand that. So while you were talking, I opened the malt whiskey, the Henry Road straight malt whiskey. Tell us a little bit about this and why you don't like malt whiskey. Just because you like bourbon better?
Wow, that's where we start. No, I like Scotch. I like all whiskeys. Had them all. Again, that 700 whiskey peak we probably had for our whiskey library or whatever we call it. Like half was Scotch.
Oh, okay.
And so early on in this or before this, I would go. Well, I'll say this here. I think this is funny. I always say this, but like, you start a collection because you can't drink it as fast as you're buying it. That's my view. I'm not buying something to dust and to like open the thing. Ooh, look at this. Fuck. Like, no. It's here to drink. And I always bought a mix of stuff, but it started with, okay, well, long week, get a bottle, and maybe you don't drink all of them. Next week, get another one, and soon you have like 10, right? That are all open.
Right.
And then you start going, and then you go to a few of these tastings, and you go and you talk with people who are into some specific parts of whiskey or something like that. Like my favorite bar in the whole country is Brandy Library in New York. Okay. People are awesome. It was near where I worked, and I could stop there on my way home, and I said, I don't want this today. Like, give me something I've never had and talk to me about it. And they were always great at that. So whether it's Mezcal or Calvados so those are the things, I need to buy this. And then, you don't get into it. Then you get something, there's 40 bottles but like Scotch became that for me. Like, I still like it. I'm a little concerned that its unique terroir nature has been scrubbed out of it by bigger companies, and I have nothing to support that. I'm just saying it doesn't taste as unique as it used to taste to me. So then what I can agree to that. What that should do for me is bring me into American single malt. That's what it should do. And that would be my advice to anyone out there like, I like Scotch, but it's been, I'm like, why don't you go step into the world of American single malt? And again, I am not the biggest cheerleader of this because I'm a bourbon drinker, but there are some amazing whiskeys being made out there. And there's a lot of talent in barley out there from the brewing industry, especially craft beer. In this state, we have a lot of folks. We have over 100 distilleries in Colorado. And
yes,
them,
you do.
A lot of them make probably their best thing is single malt and come from brewing, or this is what they're good at. And I totally respect that. And we make some of it. And we have 2 rounds coming out this year, but I don't think there'll be much beyond that for us. We're going to continue to focus in on what I'm most passionate about. Like I've always had friends that were at a brew kind of pubish distillery, and we make 20 things. I'm like, oh, good for you. What do you love? Well, like this. That's all I would make. If you love vodka, make vodka. I don't love vodka. I'll drink it, but I don't love it, so I'm not going to make it. So unless you really like it, you shouldn't be making it. And that's okay. Maybe I'm going to. I've had enough whiskey. I'm going to have the opinionated. But like I think
I enjoy it. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, but let's try this. Like ours is made sour mash style. This is a complex recipe of barley.
Okay.
So this has got 2 base malts in it, and then like a Abbey, which is like a toasted malt. It's got caramel 60. And all these things are important in beer because it's actually color too, right? It gives you darkness. And like if you go to really dark malts, you're going to get a lot of color. Also, there's a lot of unfermentable sugars in these things. Yeah. So it adds to the beer flavor. Well, if you strip it or run it through a still, if you run through a column still, I'm not sure you're going to get any of these flavors. But in a pot still, because of the regenerative, the cycling, you're going to get these flavors. So what's in this is like 2 base malts, caramel malt, Abbey, and then there's a little bit of chocolate malt in this.
I was going to say chocolate because I had already took a little sip of it and I got that chocolate on the back end. It was definitely there, like a cocoa nibs or something like that. It's really nice for you. Not really caring to make a malt whiskey. It's really. It's really presenting.
We really care about all these things.
No. I understand.
Drink. This again tastes great and ice. Some of our folks think this is the greatest thing ever. They love this. This is probably this is on these. I think that's 5.5, 6 years old. Again, complex recipe in a new barrel. Okay. Which until December, that was the requirement for straight malt whiskey in the United States.
Right.
So now the field has widened, and we like this a lot because we didn't make a ton of this over the years, but what we did make is all highly differentiated. So we make, base malt with a modifier, base malt with caramel, base malt with chocolate, base malt with peat malt. We make all these different varietals, right? Because our idea was, hey, they're going to pass this, and we're going to put this into new barrels, we put it in used barrels. And we're going to put it in special finish barrels. And we're going to use all these things on our palette, our painting palette, and we're going to create something when this passes. And now it's passed. That's what we're doing. We'll have 2 versions this year. We'll have Henry Road, which the team wants it to be like strong mouthfeel, good grain profile. We want the peanut notes to drop a lot. So the peanut notes are very present in our malt whiskey because it's sour mash. So, it's cooked on the grain and steeped on the grain. And then it's fermented on the grain. And then it's stripped on the grain. And then it's in a pot still. So you're going to pick up all that grain body, husks and everything. It's going to present. And in young Law's whiskey, it is peanut brittle from your grandmother's house.
I'm sure.
All the Spanish peanuts. And she's like, how long has this been sitting out? You're like, I don't know. This is kind of overwhelming. But as it ages, we're getting through that. And we're getting some of the oxidization. We really like this in a used barrel or like non-primary barrel. The primary barrel ups the peanut thing because it just accentuates those notes. Right. It becomes too much. So this is one of this, I would say what's coming here in the next 4 to 6 months is something different than this. And it will the extent we put up more, it'll always be different. So some of this is going to be Calvados barrels that are going into our highest end. We have its Origins project every year for the fall, and it's always something different. So it was like a 10-year bourbon thing before. Then it was a vertical of bourbon between 4 and 10 or something like that. And then it was a vertical rye and all at high proof. And then last year we did the coolest thing, and it's got a lot of attention. It might be it's my favorite of all the ones we've done to this. And it's, 100% wheat whiskey mixed with the 4 grain. We call it super wheater, and it is off the charts good. And so that's this year's, and this fall it's American single malt. So we're going to go into this. We have smoke malt stuff. So the American single malt Origins is going to have smoke in it. And I think the Henry Road is going to be more like Glenmorangie-ish if you're a Scotch person. So that's what we're going to, that would be my analog for what we're looking at, is that kind of good mouthfeel, good color in it, because it's going to have some new barrel stuff in it. But it's going to be 7+ years old.
Wow.
So it's, again, we don't have any at below 4. So, but we're going to go for like, okay, if we're going to do this in America, let's kind of do it like it's, like Irish and Scotch whiskey. Like let's put it in the barrel. Let's put it into use barrel. Let's like get the age statement up so that we're presenting the grain in a balanced way, more so than the American whiskey thing, which has a lot to do with new barrel. And I think there's a lot of delicacy in barley that has not been, it's infinite, I think of what you can do. So, but I want to see what my peers do with it, because I think, again, their love of it is greater than mine, and I would rather, acquiesce to like, we'll do this, and if it becomes something that our investors and us want us to make, we'll make more. Right. But we've learned a lot in 14 years about it. We know what works, what doesn't work for us, and we don't have to be in everything. But what we're coming out with this year, you're going to want to buy. What's going to happen is going to be the most favorite thing ever, and we're going to like, we can't put out any more of that. That's going to happen. That's just I don't know, fate or whatever you want to call it. That's exactly what happened. But all of a sudden, Law's Whiskey House is about malt whiskey. I'm like, oh my god, like really? Like I'd rather like the guys that love malt to be doing that. Like we're about bourbon, we're rye, and sweet whiskey are very important to us. We make corn whiskey and bonded corn whiskey too. Oh, okay. And it's very we have we just found a barrel to do this. It's like 9 years old. It's like 94% corn and 6% malt. Wow. And it's like 147 proof. Let's go. You do not know that it's that hot. It's so, like, this is bourbon. They're like, no, it's not, Al. I'm like, yeah, no, it's got like a light bourbon. Is this like some of our weeded? Like, nope. This is corn whiskey. I'm like, no. I'm like, yes. I'm like, oh. And by the way, you just drank 2 ounces of 147 proof. Like, oh no. You need to go sit down. That's not yeah. But like, so there's always surprises, and but like, malt's great. You'll hear us talk a lot more about it when we get this dialed in this year. But it isn't. So tell me, I would like to hear from you, because you like malt. So this is how I want this conversation to be. Absolutely. And I will tell you, I started with, like most people start with Crown and Coke. That's early on, and then moved on, and then somebody said, you're either going to love peated or smoky whiskeys, or you're not. And I said, I want to try it. So I tried it, and I fell in love. Well, then that just opened the door for single malts and American single malts and Irish and all the things. And so now I love a good bourbon. I love a good rye. I love a wheat whiskey. I love, I'm trying to get into some Calvados and some brandy and stuff like that, some rums as well. But malt has always been my backbone, because it does have that grain forward taste to it. And this to me is the pinnacle. I won't say pinnacle, but I'll say
you could put this against any other American single malt, and it would stand toe to toe with Stranahan's or Talnua or Westland, all of those guys on their basic runs. Now everybody does these fancy finishes and all these things, and we put ours in space or whatever. My thing is, does the malt show through? And is it a good flavor profile? And yes, I can say that. I'm loving that little chocolatey note at the very end. It is very malt forward, which I love. But then also there's a sweetness to it. I'm guessing that's from the new barrel, the new part of the barrel.
Definitely accentuates it.
Right. And so it's really cohesive, and which I can say about all of the whiskeys that you presented tonight. They're very cohesive, and they follow through, again, putting the red string all the way through them. From the 4-grain to the malt, they all taste exactly the same. No, they all taste very similar to what they are. The 4-grain is a culmination of everything. The wheat is a culmination of that. And it just keeps going from there and there. And this just kind of put the little sweet backbone into the whole thing. Like you were saying, upping that malt content on the 4-grain really helped the 4-grain. And this is just showing that component of it. It's like one of the legs of the 4-grain holding it up, and it's really shining through. And yeah, I can't wait for the smoked one to come out. Save me a bottle.
So part of this is definitely varietal.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's not here for just conversion. In fact, here it's all malted, so it doesn't matter. But the specialty grains in this particular run of Henry Road, and Henry Road's named after the road in front of the farm. It's probably called Range Road. I don't know.
Yeah.
Rear, but all the locals call it Henry Road. So that's what it's named after. It's named after a place where the barley was grown and malted. And so all these specialty modified barleys, essentially, they present these flavors, and in a pot still they carry through. So you can create, again, infinite number of things. And where we respect that a lot, and it's really, and then presents in the whiskey, but also presents in style of how it's made. But some of these flavors aren't going to go away. Like
no.
They're made in the grain, so they're never leaving here. So we decided after that to go to, again, these mostly base malt with one modifier, so we had better ability to blend our own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it's complex, you can't affect that, and those flavors don't change. They don't. I don't know. They don't much. I don't know how to explain this.
They don't play well with the other barrels.
They don't mellow. So if it's there now, in 10 years, it's still going to be there.
Right.
It's like you're depending on the base malt change to give you this integration. And that's fine. Like a lot of folks don't want that integration. They want these elements. So like Japanese whiskey, it's like this, and this. It's very, but when you do that, you lose some soul, right? Like,
yes, absolutely.
You want these bleeding edges, right? So our head distiller loves malt whiskey. He's very into the project we're in right now. Our head blender is very into it. Our whole production team really is. But because we haven't touched these barrels in years.
Mm-hmm.
This is, like I said, 5.5, 6 years old. It's been a couple or so years, and now the stuff is, I think our oldest is 10.
Wow.
A couple 10-year-old barrels. You're like, oh, okay. But it's in new oak. Like, if it's 10-year and like used, like from our bourbon barrels or our rye barrels, or hell, even something out of Kentucky or traded with some our friends here locally, that would be better, I think. Again, I don't know, but I'd love to have this conversation with you, because since you love malt, and
I mean, my thing because a lot of the Texas distilleries that are doing malt whiskey, they are putting them in new oak, and they're great, but they are very oak present, and the grain comes through as a secondary kind of response. The ones that are using used oak, a lot of them, unfortunately, are either smoky or there's something. So even the grain profile has a hard time coming through as well. So the ones that do and do it well, I can name a couple right off the top of my head.
Westland, like
Westward, absolutely, and they're doing a great job. But I feel like the base, well, and another one that I really enjoy is Virginia.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and the cool thing that they're doing is they're putting out their base, and then they're saying, well, here's it on port, here's it on sherry, and so like you can see what the influence along with the grain is doing, and I feel like this is a great base to go. And I'm sure you guys are doing sherry finish and all the other things.
No, we're not. I don't like sherry, so it's messed up so many barrels for us.
Really?
You got? I'm like, no. I like Armagnac. I like Cognac. I'll take it.
Okay, I'll take that too.
Or I'm like, no, we're not buying. I'm not buying Orlosa sherry cap. No.
Okay. Okay, cool. Hey, I can get down with some Cognac and some Armagnac. So yeah, we can do that just as well. And because I think that malt tends to lean because of from Scotland, leans more to a finish. The base malt, like Glenfiddich and all those ones that everybody loves, they're great, but everybody really goes for that heavily matured in port barrels or whatever whiskey, because it's different, and because the grain flavor is going to be there, the sweetness, the maltiness is going to be there. And I think for this one, it's a super cool base. I can't wait for that smoked one to come out, because that kind of like rings my bell.
So in your smoked experience, it's kind of like you're, someone walking in, I like Coors Light and I'm going to go into a double IPA, getting used to like hops, right? It's kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. And then my wife hates those smoky scotches, and I do like them, but she will, like, I can pour like 2 ounces and put it on the counter, and she'll like walk downstairs. You drink that scotch? Like, because it the whole room lights up with it. Right?
Oh, it does. It does.
And it's in the wet fall or the winter. Like, can you find something better? Like, that's just so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like legitimately good. And I think Scotland is more like, their expertise is in the finishing, and because everything's made of basically, well, I'm not gonna
distiller's malt, like a distiller's malt.
Yeah, but it's high. I think it's higher quality than the malt you'd buy here, where it's just it's like, hey, it has high alphas in it. Like, it'll convert, but it has no flavor. There's this flavor for sure. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite scotch?
Oh wow! Right now,
I like it because you have no answer because there's too many.
There is too many. Right now, I'm really into Glen Scotia. Campbelltown. But the one that I'm really been jiving on is a special edition, of course, because I'm a tater when it comes to stuff like that. And it's an unpeated Glen Scotia that's finished in like Policataro barrels or something. But it is the most unpeated whiskey I've ever had. Like, it doesn't have any peat, no smoke, but you can taste the minerality and the brininess just from the sea spray and all of that. It is. I have to send you a sample. Like, it is so freaking good. It is so freaking good. But anyway, that one, and then I love.
I gotta say, that sounds like a really cool mezcal.
Yes, exactly. And then I just did a video of some American single malts that are actually local, pretty local to me. One was finished in a tequila barrel, and it's the same whiskey finished in a tequila, and one was fully matured in mezcal barrels. And I did a side by side of them, and they were drastically different because it was a smoky whiskey going into a tequila barrel and a smoky whiskey going into a smoky mezcal barrel. And it knocked my socks off, but at the same time, they were drastically different from each other. And I thought they were going to be pretty similar, right? But no, they were not at all. And they were excellent, absolutely excellent. Both of them. I could sit there and sip both of them, but yeah, no, I
love the excitement. This is what whiskey's about. What we're talking about here is, this is why it's so awesome.
And the cool thing is, I've been doing this for a minute. Like I'm no newbie, obviously, with these little grays right here. I'm no newbie to whiskey. So like there's a lot of people that are just getting into whiskey and stuff, and I want to help them, get into that stuff. And that's kind of why I started this podcast, was to help people that didn't really know about whiskey to learn about it and to talk to cool people like yourself, and understand what you guys are doing to make good whiskey, because everybody's story is completely different, but they're all the same. You didn't like what you were doing, and now you're doing something else. Yeah. Or you were done with it. I wouldn't say you didn't like it, but you were done with it. You wanted to do another chapter, and now you're doing what you're doing, and you're presenting an amazing product. And I am going to toot your horn on that, because everything that
I'm going to say we're pretty proud of it. Yeah.
I hope you are, because like I've had a lot of distilleries on. I don't know what episode this will be, but it'll be over 125. So, we're talking, I've had a couple of people on, and this is some of the best whiskey I've had. And that's no joke.
That's a huge compliment. Thank you so much.
No problem. And the fact that all of these have a common thread going through them, but they are all drastically different from each other, which I love, because I could pick one with no other, not knowing anything else, and it's just a great wheat whiskey, whatever. Or I can have the whole lineup like you presented tonight, and go through the entire ride of what you guys are doing. It's giving me goosebumps. I'm not gonna lie, it's legit giving me goosebumps right now. And I'm such a nerd for this, and I see that you are as well. That just makes my heart so happy, because like it's what you guys are doing that keeps me doing what I'm doing. And I can't thank you enough for doing that, because you could easily just say, you know what, screw it. We're not, like you were talking about, times are tough, and you can get into that. But like as a plumber in my day job, I wish I could just drink whiskey all night and get paid for it, but that doesn't happen just yet. But like,
I highlight of the week.
Exactly. So I understand, like, man, you're waiting for the phone to ring. You're waiting for the check to come in so you can go deposit it, so you can buy groceries. Eggs are $8 a carton. All the things are happening. Grain. I mean, I know you guys are getting locally sourced grain, but it had to have gone up by now, right?
I think grain has gone down on the commodity side, but we don't buy commodity grain. So we pay them what they want for it, because it's who we are. It's our soul of our whiskey. So we pay 2 to 3 times commodity price for grain, but that keeps the family farms more vital. And
absolutely,
we believe in that as part of America. Like things close to home is where you can't industrialize. Well, you probably can industrialize. We probably have industrialized everything. But what matters to folks is they don't know anymore where anything that they buy comes from.
Yeah.
Well, come to Laws, we can show you exactly where it came from. We can tell you the people that actually grew it, and it's more soulful, and we need more of that in our lives, right? And then it's tough times again.
It is.
It's inflation. It's all these things. Like what makes it tough isn't all the things that people want to write about. Like so many people just want to write about stuff. And you're like, well, it comes down to how many dollars you have in your wallet at the end of the week.
Absolutely.
Materially, it stems from COVID to some degree, and that's where it started. And now we're trying to change the world, or I don't know. I'm a financial economist from Wall Street originally, so I don't know what's going on. So take that with some solace. I shake my head every day, and I don't have an opinion because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But we all still can splurge $40 to $60 and an affordable luxury maybe, and share it with our close friends. That can't be any more soulful.
Absolutely.
Way better than expensive dinner or fancy shoes or whatever. Like this is something that's real. It's very, very American as an American citizen today, but coming from another country. I lived here for 25 years, and this is still the best country in the world. And we have a lot to be thankful for and grateful for. And a lot of it is where we started, which is with whiskey.
Absolutely. And I will go out saying this, and then you can say your last thoughts, because I don't want to keep you all night. I saw the dogs were back, and I don't want to get them riled up either. Yeah. so
we're in Denver. Everyone's got dogs. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh no, everybody's got dogs here too, so don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. I just have to lock myself outside away from everybody so that it doesn't get noisy. But it is so cool to hear that part of your story, that yes, there is, the future is unsure, right? But we're looking forward. We're not looking back. We're not taking shortcuts, like you say. We're doing everything we can to put the best whiskey in the glass, and it shows. And I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me, for the time that you have, sending over some great samples for me to try. It's been an absolute blast. And
how are it's not for Texas, because you guys have different. Oh, what? Don't crime. We're always reserve.
Wow.
We're the official whiskey of CU Athletics.
Oh, so, wow. That's a pretty big. That's a pretty big deal. That really is a pretty big deal. I'm not a sport.
Year.
So. I'm not a big sports fan, but I know what you're talking about. My father-in-law is, so I've heard things. And the fact that you guys get back to the community, you're doing all these things, you're trying to support local. That is what craft whiskey is all about, and craft distilling. Even if you're not doing whiskey, if you're doing whatever you're doing, support the people around you. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to lift you up, so that you can make another cool bottle of whiskey. And I'm going to promote you to the end of days, because that's just one of the ways that I can give back. It might not be a lot, but it's something I can do, and I think if more people did that, and took the people that they admired, and their friends, and the people that they look up to, and say, hey, put them maybe not on a pedestal, but say, hey, check these guys out. Hey, I haven't heard of them. Cool. Go check them out. And that's one of the things I like to do, is just showcase. I mean, you guys have been around a minute. I've heard about you a million times. So I'm not saying that, but like, I want other people to see you that might not have seen you in the past, and so let's talk a little bit about distribution, and this will be the last thing. Where can people buy a bottle if they want to buy a bottle?
Well, we're not very big. So we're like, Colorado is our biggest state, obviously, and Illinois and California and Texas was, but the chaos in distribution companies, it's going to come back. Who we were with had a really rough year and a half, but they're going to
freaking Republic.
Yeah, that's who they are.
I know. I know.
They're going to bounce. Like, they're going to bounce, and then we can go back in and go back more heavily into Texas. But right now it's too tough, because they've had so many problems, and they're just dealing with like everything, like you said, the rest of us are dealing with. It affects, there's a chain to this, daisy chain of bum. So, but we're too little to go in and try to, we can't change that. So
right.
It's so, but we have an online presence with some fulfillment. I think it's out of California. I don't know. Yeah. They changed the laws where we can ship stuff. We don't want to ship ourselves. We're not, that's not what we do. But if we have fulfillment partners, we're definitely into that. And we would like to see that. That's kind of the modern way. Still baffles me, because I want to go to the store and pick up the bottle. And
so do I.
And like, I just, there's something to that to me, but I'm an older generation. So I get that. And I have kids. Well, they're not kids anymore. They're 25 and 22. And like, I don't understand how they move through the world. Yeah. Sorry. I understand it. It's not how I want to do it. But,
right.
And we have to respect that too. Like, I get
right.
This is a thing. And I don't know. Like, we are available. You can find us. We have an info at Law's Whiskey House. If you can't, we can try to help you with that. But you can get it online. We don't put everything online. We definitely put some specialty stuff online, though. So that's a interesting thing to do. If you can't make it into Denver, come visit us. But our new sanctuary is set up to be a brand experience, and there's a ton of stuff you cannot get. Even in Denver, in Colorado, you have to come and see us.
Right.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
And I always like that, because if I want to go to, Chicago or like Kentucky or something, if I go to those places, I want to go visit again. Like, I'd like something to be there that I can't just buy at, Total, or
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, across the country at Total or something like that.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
There's something about, you know what I'm going to talk about. Like, it's the hunter kind of thing, but it isn't like I'm doing this for trophies. I'm doing this just to, I can't get this. I want to try this.
Absolutely.
And I will definitely drink it to the bottom of the bottle, and it ain't going to take 5 years.
No.
Those are important parts of this. Is don't save everything that's, this is so precious. Is it precious? Then buy some glass beads and make sure it doesn't oxidize on you, and like bring the level up in the bottle and all that kind of, that's fine. But and don't not open them. Like, that's the problem, is like at some point the collection gets so large and you don't, or hey, open this, and you guys drank a quarter of the bottle one night and then you don't go back to it. It's like, nah, respect the bottle, kill it. Like, you gotta, it's an experience, share with a number of people, but let's take it to the bottom. Let's not just have 6 of them lined up. Like, that needs to change. It just needs to change.
Absolutely. I just did an episode on that, which is kind of fitting. I just did an episode about, collecting or hoarding. And it's like when the people have 8 Pappy Van Winkles deep of the same thing not open, and I'm like, what are you doing, showing off? Like nobody cares. Like, I get it, like it's clout, I guess, or maybe resale value or something, but you're not selling it. You're not on the secondary market.
Are you really going to sell it?
Yeah, and I mean, you're using it as an asset. I mean, you're a financial advisor. That's probably not the best asset to have in your house. One fire, everything's gone. It's kind of stupid. So open the bottles. And if you're going to open a bottle of laws. And what I'm going to do, one of the listeners or viewers, because this will go on YouTube as well, is going to get a full sample of one of these. I'm going to pick one of them, and you're going to get the rest of the sample that I have. I didn't spit in it, I promise. So don't think I'm doing that.
Hey, you don't even have to do that. Find your person, we'll send it to you. Then it's sealed.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. But Alan, I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me. This has been a lot of fun, and I will have all of your links in the description down below so everybody can go check them out. I will even do a link for some of your affiliates that they can go buy bottles if they want. I know that shipping is kind of a weird thing right now, so if it's in your state, it is. If it's not, I'm pretty big in Guam. I don't know why, but I don't know if it ships to Guam, so sorry. They must like whiskey over there though, but whatever, it's fine. But I really appreciate you being on here, and it was a lot of fun. Hang on real fast, I want to talk to you, and y'all be good. This was a great episode. Thank y'all very much, and until next time, keep your spirits up.
Thanks for having me.
Peace out.
Very great.